Okie dokie. We are recording. When I hang out with you and your littles, I become far more little, which is fun. But it's not how we
Yes.
start the podcast. Let's try again. We are recording a multiple P, oh God, good God. Try again, Amy. We are recording a 3P multiple perspectives podcast. We are professionals. We know what the hell we are doing. We are talking today about the very, very cool Discover Your Preferences handout that I have put together because I recognize that when you go into the 3P library in school, there's a lot. I like profiles. I culled my profiles to 24. And people tell me that 24 is too much. And I tell them that I started with 100. And that if they want less, they can go somewhere else. I don't normally say the last bit, but I wish I was confident enough to say the last bit.
Yeah.
So I acknowledge there's a lot. There is a lot of information in the 3P libraries, all of them, which is why there are now 3P libraries. There is one for profiles, there is one for patterns, there is one for perspectives. What I have created, and I have a physical printout of version 2. I think I'm up to version 4 now, because as I've been playing with version 2, I've realized there were some things that needed correcting, which is always the way these things go. But what I have done is I have taken all of the 24 profiles and the key elements from them and put them onto a double-sided sheet. And what I've been doing this morning, I don't know whether the camera will pick it up, is colouring it in. So you can see I've coloured in the ladybug. I need to find a yellow pencil and colour in the bee because I am concurrently a ladybug and a bee, which I get sounds weird for anyone familiar with the Clutterbug profiles. So I both like simplicity and abundance, and I like visual and hidden. And the contrasts vary. So in our bedroom, we are very much ladybugs, to the point that my lovely butterfly husband does not have his clothes in the bedroom. He has a walk-in wardrobe somewhere else in the house so that we do not have to share our space. And if I have the capacity, I will actually become a cricket in the bedroom. And I do like that category, abundance and everything folded and perfectly in its place. But I live a life with multiple other people, running a business, and folding my underwear does not always get the priority. And so sometimes they're just shoved in the drawer, and sometimes they are folded meticulously in 2/3 and stacked vertically and like very, 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 very detailed. So I can be very, very, very cricket, and my life means that I'm often more ladybug and just stuffing stuff so I can't see it. But we digress, and we will probably digress into little elements of each of these profiles as we go through. The purpose of this handout is so that all of our preferences are visible and easy to relocate. So what I've found over the years, and we're talking over a decade, maybe even 2 decades, I would take profiles and I would discover something really insightful about myself. And then I would print that out and it would go in my pile of paperwork. I'd like to say it went like nicely filed in a folder, and there's a version of me that like operates like that. And then there's a version of me that lives in reality with 4 children and husbands and lives and cats, and she just stuffs things in a pile. But they get lost and they get forgotten. And I lose touch with those insights, those things that I know about myself that shape the way that I operate best. And so what I wanted to do was put together something that contained all of the key pieces that help us understand ourselves, help us understand how we make decisions, help us understand how we communicate, help us understand our values. And so that's what this is. This is the Discover acronym, which we'll see if I can remember. So decisions, intense insights, self-perceptions, communication, organization, values, engagement, and relationships. So it covers a whole wealth of things that are happening in our lives, and it pulls out our preferences onto 2 pages, because I get that 24 profiles is a lot, but when you can condense them down to 2 pages, it becomes manageable and it becomes something that is really, I'm hoping, going to be really practical and helpful for others. I've done this in like geeky spreadsheets before, and it became very complicated, and people don't like spreadsheets, whereas this is quite fun. Like I said, I've been sitting here this morning coloring in my body graph, coloring in my modalities, like do I like to see things and taste things and think things, what are my preferences in modalities, and yeah, it's been really fun. And I think that kinesthetic, like the actually coloring it in, so coloring in my body graph reconnected me with, that's right, these are the energy centers that I have, these are the gates that I have, and human design is massive. So that transcribing action from here is the body graph on the computer to here is one that I've colored in and I've really connected deeply with it physically, like we're actually coloring it in, changes our relationship with it. So thoughts, feelings, insights, questions?
Oh, we are just following along.
I love the littles are very good at listening. They're not the best at conversationing.
Well,
in this arena.
we're kind of we also have a lot happening right now. We apologize because Heather had to go into the hospital last night, so there's a lot going on right now.
That is a lot going on for you.
That's why we're by the water, so we're up on the boat where she is.
I meant to ask about your background before we went live and see if it was real or virtual. My assumption had been it was virtual, but it is obviously real, which is very cool.
It's real. Yeah.
It's a very nice location.
No, we actually don't have any questions on any of that right now. That's on like kind of a summary of stuff that you've been talking about with us recently.
Yeah, it definitely covers a lot, and it gets very, very brief summary. My inclination is to tap into why I like profiles in the first place.
Ooh.
And I have mixed feelings. I have mixed parts with different thoughts about profiles. When I first started, like I say, 15, 20 years ago, taking profiles, it was because if someone had asked me questions and just like so I literally ran through page 1 of this worksheet with my LexiFrog. And we did, so everything that I've colored in, I've got one model on this front page that I haven't colored in because I don't remember the profile well enough to do it from memory, but I don't remember my results from that. And so I want to tap back into it. But all of the other ones on this front page, and the body graph you need to have done your human design. That one I don't remember. There are 24 gates that are colored in and a bunch not. So I remember elements of it, but I couldn't do it. Like I literally was copying that from I have a printed version. The rest of it, though, I've distilled down to really simple questions, and I can answer them because I've been playing with them for so long, and Lexi could answer them because the first people that I experiment on when I find a new profile are my teenagers and my husband. And so they are the people that I engage with and interact with to build a depth of understanding with the profile. But this first page, because we've been playing with this for so long, we could answer the questions because we're aware of our preferences. A decade ago, I had no idea that these kinds of preferences even existed and that there were differences. I had definitely bought into the doesn't everybody think the same? Doesn't everybody operate the same? And no, we do not. If we go back to the Clutterbug profile, in my house, we have different variations of all of those bugs. And I have different variations depending on which room I'm in and which mood I'm in and how much capacity I have. But without that awareness, it becomes the cause of conflict. So now when my children, and all of them do it, and my husband as well, so I have the qualities of a bee, a ladybug, and a cricket. My husband and my children are all butterflies. Now, some of them have other. My husband can turn into a ladybug depending on what's going on in life. One of my children can turn into a cricket depending on what's going on in their life. And they can access bee tendencies as well. But predominantly, they're all butterflies. Predominantly, they all like their stuff out, visual. They want to be able to see it, and they don't want to have to sort. It just needs to be something that is so easy to put away that it takes no effort. Like, if you could leave whatever it is on the counter where you use it, that's their preference. So things like our toaster and our kettle and our air fryer live on the bench permanently. My ideal would be that they actually got put back away in the cupboard, and I will. So I will take the toasted sandwich maker out of the cupboard. I will make a toasted sandwich, and then I will put it back in the cupboard. This morning when I walked through the kitchen and I wasn't in kitchen cleaning mode, I saw the slow cooker out from yesterday and went grrr, because normally I would have put that. I didn't dish up dinner last night. We had the most delicious lamb roast for dinner last night. It was so good.
That does sound really good right now.
And it was simple. It was done in the slow cooker. So you cut up my husband in the morning cut up the potatoes and the carrots and just tossed them in the bottom of the slow cooker. We added some herbs, we added the lamb, and it sat in the slow cooker all day yesterday at 47 cents a kilowatt electricity. It's the most expensive electricity we've had in probably 12 months yesterday. And it was still the best lamb roast. I was going to say, it was still the best lamb roast we've had in forever. My husband didn't even think when he took the lamb roast out last night to put the slow cooker back in the cupboard. Like, it just doesn't occur to him.
No. But did he clean the slow cooker?
No.
Oh. Well, see, that's gross.
Well, part of that was that I was refusing to turn the dishwasher on until the electricity prices came down last night, and that I forgot to turn the dishwasher on. However, my point is, if I didn't know his tendencies, and often we know the tendencies, if I didn't understand that it's a tendency and a preference as opposed to a deliberate, willful, I'm going to piss Amy off and leave the slow cooker on the bench tonight, which is what I assumed it was for the first decade of our marriage. It's just so if he had his way, all of the appliances would live on the kitchen bench. The problem is that we've got more appliances than kitchen bench.
Yeah.
And the slow cooker doesn't come out. I think it'll come out more through, we may actually trade the slow cooker for the air fryer through winter. I was going to say through summer. I'm like, that's the wrong season. I'm looking at your beautiful summer background.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
where we are now, it looks like this most of the year right here.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
What understanding my preferences and understanding that there are alternate preferences did, and this is what I use profiles for. I'm not looking for the story at the end of the profile. I'm looking for the pieces that make up the differences in how people approach the world. And so I don't care. I mean, it's helpful for me to know that I'm a bee in the kitchen and I'm a ladybug in my bedroom and I'm a cricket when I have capacity. That's helpful to me to understand that about myself. What's more helpful is understanding that there are 4 different ways to sort and store, and that other people will have different preferences in that, and it doesn't make us right or wrong. It simply makes us different.
Well, that's the key, because we would like to think, well, yes, there are 4 ways, and 3 of them are obviously incorrect.
Yeah. Well, and maybe they are for you. And not for the people we live with, and not for other people. Years ago, I had someone helping me tidy my craft space, and I asked them to sort my cardstock. So there was, I want to say 72 shades of cardstock, but that seems like a lot. That could be accurate, though. There was a whole pile of different, one of my former jobs was scrapbooking teacher, and so I had a whole bunch of different colors of cardstock. And I asked her to sort them. They'd got pulled out for workshops and things and ended up in a stack. And I'm like, what you could really do is help me by sorting the cardstock and putting it away. I had cubes that they lived in some of the early videos. So like the cubes behind me, some of the early videos that are coming through on YouTube at the moment that I'm transforming from private into public that are from 10, 15 years ago. You can see those cubes filled with craft stuff behind me. She sorted the cardstock alphabetically. So every one of those cardstocks had a color and a name. And she sat with the book and she matched the color to the name in the book, and then she sorted them alphabetically. And I remember and I could not fathom why one would sort that. If I'm looking for cardstock, I don't care what its name is. I care what its color is.
Yeah.
And how we look for things will change how we sort things. What I realized later, after being completely befuddled and realizing that I had to resort these 72 cardstocks into color sequence because there was no way I was going to navigate the alphabetized system. Like my brain couldn't handle it. What I realized later, so when I'm looking for cardstock, I'm looking for a color, and I'm looking for a color to go with the photo on the scrapbooking page, or I'm looking for a color to match with the other stuff I've got going on. The way that she did craft was she would use the predefined templates, and on the instructions, it gave the name of the cardstock to use and didn't necessarily reference the color. So the way in which we look for things will influence the way in which we sort for things. And the way in which her and I crafted changed the way in which we looked for things. So she was looking for things to fit with the predetermined workshop. I was looking for things to go with my own creativity. It was very rare that I was, and I also knew the names of most of the colors so that I could read some of the obscure names of colors, like some of them like deep blue, you kind of can work out is a blue. Some of them were a little bit more obscure. I knew the names and the colors that they matched. And so if it
like
said
when
something,
you go to get paint chips at the hardware store for your house, and this paint color is called like Jason's left shoe, and you're like, what
color
who's
is Jason?
I've never seen his left shoe. It turns out his left shoe is a bright red, and so but
so I knew the name. So even if I was creating a workshop, I could look at the name and I could find it by color. Understanding that there are differences though, and it's merely a difference. It's not a right or a wrong. Now, I did rearrange the cardstock into the way that I was going to use it because it was me that was going to be in my workshop space more often.
Yeah.
All of these preferences give us the opportunity to not only understand ourselves better, but to understand the people around us as well. So in the little car, which I know was one of the first things you were drawn to, was the car, which needs to become a purple VW on my sheet. That needs to happen. I will find a purple pencil at some point and colour that in. I think I'm going to have far more fun colouring these in than necessarily utilising the profiles on them.
Yeah.
The different cognitive functions. So my Myers-Briggs type is ENTP. I have no idea what Myers-Briggs says about it because I didn't look at what Myers-Briggs said about it because what I wanted to understand was the patterns underneath. Now, what I understand about myself is that my decision-making process is to explore the world intuitively and then internalize and make a decision logically and then do an external check on other people's values. My husband's decision-making process is to determine his values, explore the world through sensation, and then do an external check on other people's logic. Which works really nicely because I'm doing an external check on values, so he gets to choose the values, I get to choose the logic, and we complement each other really nice in that space until we're trying to make a decision together. And I want to explore first, and he wants to lock in values. I don't care about the values. They're third on my list. And so if we're trying to make a decision together, we're literally asking the other person to tip their world upside down to follow a sequence of decision making. And so what works best for us is to separate, make our decisions, and then come back and do those external checks together. And we're buying a car, though, and we're going out and looking at cars together, it becomes really fascinating because he will have already made the decision and he's confirming his decision. I'm still exploring, and he can't understand how we're having a conversation if I haven't made a decision. I can't understand how you can make a decision without having the conversation. Understanding that about each other makes life far more harmonious. And he now tolerates far more of my exploring, recognizing that I'm exploring and I haven't made a decision. Just because I'm saying it out loud doesn't mean I'm going to follow through on it. I now recognize if he does say it out loud, it's because he's confirmed his decision and he's looking for confirmation, not challenges. But you can see how initially that would cause great conflict in our relationship without understanding that.
Is this like how, so here in this town of Vallejo, California, we have a really great thrift store. And I don't know if you like thrift stores, but good thrift stores are really great.
Good thrift stores are really good.
And this one's awesome. But when we go there with Heather, our wife, we usually, like, we know we want a shirt of this kind or a hat or of this kind or a pot of this kind for the kitchen. Heather is going to go up and down every aisle and look at everything in there. And so we will go run around and grab the couple of things we need if they have them, and then we'll just come and push the cart with Heather for the rest of the time.
Yep. So you've worked out that difference in decision making, and you've found a way to compromise and tolerate. And often it is just that way. Compromise isn't necessarily the word I want, but that acceptance and understanding that we operate differently, and the benefits of that. So if Mike and I are creating a decision, we literally go through 6 of the 8 cognitive function decision-making types. By the time we get to our third one, we've gone through 6 of them between us. And we've got a really nice balance of intuition and sensation. We've got a really nice balance of logic and values. And so we're covering so much more together than we would individually. And it complements really nicely. What I find is the differences, if we have acceptance, become complementary. If we have judgment, they become conflictor, they cause conflict.
Yes. Yes.
And underneath all of that, we start with the awareness that there are differences. Because without the awareness of the differences, then we're not even understanding. So one of the other models on this is 6 core needs. I tended to be driven by certainty a lot more than I am now. Now I tend to be driven by variety. My husband, and I think at the moment we've flipped, which tends to be what happens. For years we fought about which way the forks go in the dishwasher. I finally conceded and thought that he had a valid point, and I changed the way that I was putting the forks in the dishwasher. He finally conceded and decided that I had a valid point, and he changed the way that he's putting the forks in the dishwasher. So we're still fighting over which way the forks go in the dishwasher. But he and I tend to manage the extremes and the polarity. Like we literally are opposites attract. And I think he believes that so deeply that if we become aligned and we're not opposites, he will change just to continue and maintain the opposites attract belief that he holds so strongly.
Well,
so I think at the moment he's craving more certainty, and as a result I'm craving more variety. And so we both do it to some degree. When we're making decisions though,
just if we could pause too, just to say something that we think you likely resonate with, but just for others who'd be listening, we find all of these profiles, in human design or in all of these other paradigms where you can look at your profiles and whatever tradition they come from, whether more woo-woo or more scientific, we find them all quite useful as long as we keep in mind that they are snapshots and descriptions of right now that we find useful in understanding ourselves, so that we don't push ourselves to do things that are out of alignment, and we can spend our time more usefully and have better relationships. We find them much yet less useful when people start seeing them as prescriptions rather than descriptions, and saying, well, because this is your profile, this is how you are, and that's how you're going to be tomorrow. And, and therefore it really, it goes into all the decision making, and we've had clients who have been like, man, we really want to attend that workshop you're doing this month, but according to our fill in the blank profile, it's not good for us this month, but it would be great for us in August. And we're like, okay, but we're not running it.
We're not running it in August. We're running it.
We're not running it in August. And they're like, but our profile says if we do it this month, it won't work out for us. And we're like, okay, nobody's making you. Then don't do it, right? But then don't do it, and then you just. But then we'll miss out on the material. We're like, yeah, then you'll miss out on the material. So it's like they're using it as a prescriptor rather than a descriptor at that point.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the bulk of these profiles can change. The only one on here that I would say won't change is our human design, because it's based on our birth date. How we engage with it and how we interact with it will change, though.
Mm-hmm.
And the conditioning shifts and adjusts. So while we get our base charts, one of the things that I love about human design is that it gives us our base chart. On top of that, though, is all of the conditioning that we've taken on.
Mm.
And this gives us something to come back to. And yet, at the same time, it's still who the world told us to be. And not just the world, every planet. We get a whole bunch of influences energetically. Before the world told us who to be, that chart was blank. Which is one of the things that we talk about in the Human Design Aligned Living course is, at our core, all of us are reflectors. And all of these energies, while now consistent for us, once were not. And so what may be consistent today may not be consistent tomorrow. Every other one of these profiles, if you sit down and take the quiz that goes with them, so human design is the only one that doesn't come with a quiz, it just, because it's based off your birth dates, you'll get different results at different times. Like I said, the clutterbugs, I haven't had butterfly a result, but I have had 3 out of 4 as a result. And I'm sure if you caught me on the right day in the right moment of my cycle, there are days where I'm a butterfly too, and I'm like, I can't be stuffed putting this away. I'm just going to leave it on the bench so I can find it later. And it's that I'm not going to sort, and I'm not going to store. It's just going to stay here so I remember it exists. All of these will vary over time.
Well, and that might not be true in every room, right? So, I mean, like for us in the kitchen, there are certain things we like out because it's used repeatedly and we don't want to go to the trouble putting it away. But like in our bedroom, we're not one of those people that leaves all the clothes just in the laundry basket on the floor right there. That would drive us absolutely bonkers.
Yep.
No, it's getting put away.
Yeah, and so different rooms will give us different results on the Clutterbug profile. Possibly different results. So in the kitchen, my husband will fight with me. In the car, my husband will converse with me. And often in moments in the kitchen, we'll get to, okay, we need to move from the kitchen and go to the car because both of us are sick of fighting with each other. So different spaces can create different results in all kinds of different things. Different seasons of life will change the results. So ideally, I would love to be a cricket. Everything is put away perfectly. Cricket and bee, like that category abundance delights me. It is where everything has an exact place. Everything is meticulously sorted. That is my ideal. This life season, that's not practical. It really wasn't practical when we had 4 children under 6. It's just as impractical with 4 teenagers living in the house, particularly in shared spaces. I'm not going to win that fight. And so different seasons will give us different results. My attachment style is reasonably consistent, but I'm starting to move far more towards there are far more answers that I give that are secure.
Mm.
I'm doing the work, I'm improving, but my core attachment is still, I was going to say dysfunctional. Dysfunctional is probably accurate. It was more disorganized was the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I am both anxious and avoidant. If you leave me alone, I will come and find you. But if you then respond to me, I will then walk away.
Hmm.
Like the anxious avoidant.
Yeah,
The tough
we
one.
remember in our group therapy when we were learning about those styles, they talked about secure and anxious and avoidant. And then the therapist that day, she couldn't remember the name of the fourth one, and we said it's the fucked up one.
I was going to say,
And she was like,
dysfunctional felt like the right word, but
yeah.
disorganized was the word I was
And
looking
so she
for.
actually wrote that in the square until she could remember the name of the style. She was like, oh, you're right. Yeah.
But that changes, and it's a scale and it's a spectrum, and it varies based on my capacity.
Mm-hmm.
My planning style change. All of these, my cognitive functions tend to stay reasonably static. I haven't noticed changes in that. My big five has, I'm just looking at the rest of the profiles. Big five, I haven't noticed huge changes in, though my neuroticism the other day on a different quiz. So whichever quiz we're taking will also change our results.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being 92, it was 56. That's a huge difference.
Mm.
My disc doesn't tend to change, but different elements of it will come to life. D, S, and C are all prominent for me depending on where I am. I can tap into I, but the DSC is more. But some of these are shifting. My voice, when I redid the 5 Voices profile the other day to remember what the scoring looked like, because it had been a while since I'd been in there, it was consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pioneer connector. And
Mm.
the volume on that is loud. So one of the ways they measure your voices is by volume. Like I have all
Okay.
5 bars, and I reckon I could add like a 6th bar.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Where again we come back to differences. So someone I was speaking to yesterday, she's like, I was told I was too much again today. I'm like, fuck them. Like I just don't have the patience
Mm-hmm.
for that anymore. And what I suspect it was that she was in a room of people who on this volume scale would score a 1 or a 2, and her volume of 5 became overpowering.
Mm.
And I noticed it the other day in another meeting I was in, where one person was definitely a 4 or 5 on the volume scale and the other was a 1 or 2. And it meant that 4 or 5 was unconsciously dominating the conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
it took a little bit more facilitation to bring out the other. It's not wrong, it's different. And I think that's what I keep coming back to. It doesn't matter what profile this is or which way we're putting the forks in the dishwasher. It's not wrong, it's different. And if we can embrace that philosophy, it makes life so much easier and so much happier. And the reason I can embrace that philosophy, I think, stems from having explored so many differences. So these 24 profiles, each one of them gave me references of differences and references of ways to accept people that to me looked wrong but were simply operating different.
Mm-hmm.
And so understand, and particularly, like I said, my husband and my kids are where I start first, particularly with my husband, where we've got such a contrasting energy. So I've got the disc one in front of me. I am results driven. I am accuracy driven. He is connection and safety. And instantly you can see how that can become really complementary or really
Mm-hmm.
conflictory. So all of these
Oh,
contrasts,
yeah.
we've got the option of, great, how do we utilize that to complement each other?
Mm-hmm.
And as parents, it's great. If the kids want results, they come to me. If the kids want connection, they go to him. They've worked out how to leverage our contrasts.
Yeah. Kids are good at that.
Kids are really good at that. And understanding that it's difference is the way that I've done that. And literally every one of these 24 profiles has been a stepping stone towards deeper acceptance and compassion.
Mm.
And that's my invitation to anyone watching. I recognize 24 profiles seems like a lot. Do one a week. Like, it's really, do one a day, do one a week, do one a year. Like, I don't really care how many, but just allow yourself that space to explore what are the differences that you're encountering and how can you start to turn that into the complementary rather than the conflictory state that you're in. If you're with someone, if you're more exploratory and experimenting and need to talk out loud to think through problems, and you're with someone who makes decisions and then talks about it 3 years later when they think, oh yeah, by the way, you should probably know that I made this decision.
Mm.
Understand the difference, but leverage that. And the way Michael leverages that is to tell me to go and talk to other people. It's why he loves that I'm doing the podcasts again, and he loves that I'm engaging in personal development. Because he then doesn't have to have the conversations with me. I go and I do the conversations, and he gets the benefits of that. But he also will tolerate and acknowledges, if he has the capacity, he will have the conversation with me. And he can see how much it expands his perspective and my perspective in doing it that way. But it becomes a really complementary thing rather than a source of conflict.
Yeah.
And when we recognize those differences in our romantic relationships, in our parenting relationships, in our work relationships, all of the relationships, and let's face it, everything we're doing just about is done through relationships. Understanding these differences is the pathway. Pick one profile. Most of them have like a small number of pieces. If you're going to pick one profile to play with, I wouldn't suggest human design. It's got 64 pieces plus.
Yeah.
Something like 6 core needs, though, understanding the difference between that drive for certainty or variety. And then within that, and so it's not on the little sheet, but in the library, even if you share the value or the need of variety, there are 4 different flavors of variety. Understanding that when somebody says your flavor of variety, it may not mean the same thing it does to you, which goes back to our conversation from last week. The map is not the territory, the way in which we communicate and connect. We need to clarify and we need to ask. What these do is give us the clarifying questions. Now, sometimes that can backfire. In our early days of me learning to be a coach, I would ask questions like, what's driving your motivation here? And my husband would feel significant judgment because I was questioning his motivations and his intentions. And for me, I was driven by curiosity. And he's now learned that I'm driven by curiosity. For him, if he was saying, what's your motivation here? It was coming from a place of judgment and like, there's a difference between what are you thinking and what are you thinking. And
so you were saying it thinking, I'd like to know what's driving his motivation here, and what he's hearing is, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Basically, yeah. Yeah, and that's a very different energy.
Yeah.
When we're coming from curiosity versus judgment. Now, my husband, so if curiosity and judgment is a set of contrasts, and for this conversation, let's make it one. I'm so often driven by curiosity. He's more driven by judgment. And so he hears everything that I say through that filter of judgment. On the flip, I hear everything that he says through the filter of curiosity. So he might be trying to judge me and I don't even notice. Which is delightful for me and rather infuriating for him, I'm sure.
Yeah. Now, I mean, these are, we just want to say for folks, like Amy said too, it's okay if you need to take your time with this stuff and make sure you're in a good space when you do it. So some of these specific ones we're looking at are the same things like that broke us. So we, when we were living hidden and partially unaware of each other, it was late 2024 when we did a conference where some of these very profiles like because it was like, figure out who you are and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't remember most of it because we were messed up in the head. But um, we can do these now as long as we're very careful and deliberate with them. And we might have to print out several sheets and because we're going to answer questions differently, and that's okay. And some of, and other humans if you have parts, which you do, your parts might answer things differently. But at the time, we didn't know that we had parts. We didn't know certainly that we were like, very distinct parts. And so we took some of these questionnaires and did the thing, and it broke us. We went into a tailspin and tried to poison ourselves to death with alcohol. Like that was our response to trying to do. Other people were like, this profile's really fun. And we were like, we're going to kill ourselves. Right.
Well, and I think that goes back to what you shared earlier of the prescription versus description.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have one part or one alter that takes the profile and a different alter gets the results from the profile, that's going to create massive disconnect.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it'll show on I don't think it's going to show very well at all. I can't get it close enough. But on my handout, there are 3 different colors. And I'm literally color coding because there are different parts that relate with. So I have one part of me that it's got red, green, and blue. And the red is a heart. So it's not a like this is bad. It's a this is love representation of red. I have one part of me that definitely fits the upholder. I take care of my own expectations and I take care of other people's expectations. I meet my own needs and I meet the needs of others. And I do that really well. That is the upholder from 4 Tendencies. I have another part of me that will meet my own needs and fuck everybody else's. I don't care about your needs. I don't care about your expectations. Why do you want me to do that? Unless you can turn that expectation into something that benefits me, piss off. And then I have another part that will completely neglect my own needs while meeting everybody else's needs. She had she was the person that ruled for a long time. And I'm sure if I looked hard enough, I could probably find the part that doesn't meet my own needs and doesn't meet other people's needs and is in that rebel of, you can't tell me what to do and neither can I. I mean, as I say that out loud, I'm like, that's the part that most people see of me when we're doing anything is the, I can't make myself do anything. So all of those are there, recognizing that all of these can be within us. And it's not that prescription, it's simply a description. And maybe you will resonate with all of them, particularly if you have strong parts or alters. And Ian and I are both along the spectrum. Ian slightly further than me. Well, maybe slightly further than me, or maybe just didn't manage to integrate them. And I say that without any judgment, just without the awareness.
I'm not that far, Mar. You're definitely closer to us on the spectrum than you are with most of the people we interact with. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, Ian feels more. I'm like, no, I think Ian you didn't get the opportunity. So my parts, I discovered my parts at a time where I was in a good space, which allowed for it to work really nicely for me going on that. Whereas you discovered your parts, or parts of you discovered your parts, because there was such disconnect and disassociation and issues that had come through.
Yes, we discovered each other through crisis, and because of the sustained adverse experiences during childhood, it's normally around the ages of 6 or 7 that your parts start to integrate and fuse that ours didn't integrate and fuse, and it becomes very difficult to do that afterward.
Well, I suspect, and I'm not going to compare trauma with anybody, especially not with you, but I suspect
we don't trauma compare. It's
mine didn't necessarily integrate, but I caught them before they were at that point of conflict. Like I discovered them early enough that they hadn't got to that, we want to be heard and we're going to do whatever it takes to be heard. They got to be heard that little bit earlier on in the journey. Like you say, though, these profiles, so some of these I've had really great experiences with, and some of them I had not so great experiences with. Like they almost broke me as well. It was challenging, which is why having support and having a community in which you can discuss these things openly and transparently And I'm more than content for people to come into the community and say, oh my God, Amy, I can't believe you think the 6 core needs should be on this list. I hate it. It repulses me. It great.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not going to
Don't
tell
do
you
it.
that these 24 profiles are the answer, but they
Right.
are a pathway to exploration. And if you find one that doesn't work for you, throw it out. Do
Mhm.
not make yourself sit through trying to navigate it. And if you find that the profiles aren't working for you well because you have parts, there's a whole other exploration through Team of Champions and Build an Inner Champion, which is getting built out as well. Like the profiles are something that I loved. They definitely give me a pathway to self-understanding, others understanding, building compassion. I understand that will not be the case for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're of value, print it out, play with the worksheet. If they're not of value, that's okay. Perhaps there's something else in the community. I mean, we have patterns and we have perspectives, and then we have a whole range of other things that we play with in the community, because I wholeheartedly acknowledge there is not one size fits all. There is not one way to compassion and self-awareness and a depth of understanding. There are many ways. And even within my community, while we touch on quite a number of those ways, there are probably ways that we are missing. And if that's more up your alley, share them in the community. Others might resonate with them too.
Almost certainly. I mean, it's a big universe.
Yeah.
And we've been thinking a lot about our belief systems and our spiritual paradigms and our epistemology and stuff, and think about how we at this stage in life has deliberately chosen a really expansive paradigm of looking at the world, where it incorporates a lot of things we've learned over the years, things that at first seem contradictory but really can work quite well. And we pull out the value that works and we leave behind the parts that don't work for us. And we are not making any truth claims. We're not making any empirical or teleological or ontological truth claims. We're just saying, this is what's working for us right now. And if you have something else that's working for you, that's beautiful and wonderful and great. And our expansive view of looking at things even includes explanations for the really limited view of looking at things, right? Because there are people whose belief paradigms where they,
This
whether
is
it's
the one
religious
thing.
or psychological or these different profiles we look at, they're like, no, this is the way and that's it. And they're not even saying this is the way for me. They're like, no, this is it. This is capital T truth. And if you don't think so, you're wrong. Right. And they can't explain all the other stuff outside them except to say it's the devil or it's evil or it's, whatever.
Yep. And there's if that's working for someone, great. I'm not normally fond of them pushing it on to others, but if it's working for them, that's great. Somewhere you have shifted very slightly, because that was not a little speaking. There were a lot of big words in that. That was a grown-up here that came through.
That was mostly Julian. Hi, Julian. He came out. Yeah.
I was going to say, and I was curious who it was that had come forward. Everyone is welcome, but I'm like, this is not a little speaking anymore. There were a lot of big words in that.
The bigs actually, and the littles now call the bigs bugs. And I don't know if they told you that. And the littles have been doing a lot of journaling about how the bigs love their big fancy words because it makes them feel smart and special. And so a little, everything Julian would just said, a little would have said, like, we think we have something beautiful and we don't claim that we're right. And that would have been the end of it.
The littles have very, very powerful, concise wisdom. And sometimes I can tap into that. I do tend to fall into I like using big words because it makes me sound photosynthesis as well.
Well, like, what was the point of folks like us getting all those fancy degrees if we don't get to use the big words?
I think you missed what I just said. So I said I like the big words because they make me sound photosynthesis. Photosynthesis
That's not
is
what I heard.
Yeah, no, I knew you hadn't heard me.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, when you just continued the conversation, I'm like, you missed what I just said.
I don't know what I thought I heard, but it wasn't that.
It wasn't that.
Photosynthesis?
Well, so it's the ridiculousness of using big words.
Yeah.
So photosynthesis, if we're still speaking with the littles, photosynthesis is what trees do with leaves or something. I'm not even entirely sure what it is. My point was to jar I like using big words because they make me sound smart, but they don't make me sound smart when I use a big word that I clearly don't know the meaning of, and they make me sound photosynthesis.
That is funny. Mm-hmm.
Which ironically is what I see a lot of people doing using AI stuff. Their posts will try and convey one thing, and you ask a question and they can't answer the most basic question, or they'll respond. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and we were talking about not negotiables, and I've really lowered my not negotiable list, which is a conversation I've had numerous times with people, to the only not negotiable is breathing. And I mean that, like, physically, I must breathe to survive. But it's not something I think about, it just happens. Anyway, she asked me what my prompt was to create focus for breathing. And I realized, my response was compassionate. I'm like, I'm not sure I conveyed my meaning clearly. What I wanted to say was, I don't think you understood me. But what I said, and it was just this moment, but it's interesting watching people leveraging AI and then not being able to back it up. And so there's a space for leveraging AI if you know what you are talking about. So I'm currently leveraging AI, and you'll notice a lot of the content in the community is AI generated because it's fast. It's really easy to go into AI and say, create me a post about the 4 tendencies. I know the 4 tendencies well enough to know if AI is making up something that is inaccurate. And if someone asks me a question, I can have the conversation. What a lot of people are doing, though, is creating it and then can't back it up. And I know that the AI does not know the 4 tendencies well, because one of the things that I had to change on the worksheet was that it had changed obliger to relaxer, and it had changed the rebel. I can't remember what it had called it, but on the sheet at the moment, the rebel's got like a fist, and he's going, like he's shaking his fist, which fits the rebel theme. Somewhere in the reiterations of generating the workshop, the rebel moved from shaking his fist to waving. I'm like, there is a very different energy between you can't tell me what to do and I can't tell myself either, and you're shaking your fist, to, hi, how you going? Now, I picked up on that because I know the model and I know the energy that's meant to be there. Now, if anybody by chance happens to, like I said, we're on, I don't know what reiteration of this workshop, of this worksheet, and there's 1 or 2 things that I'm noticing as I'm colouring it in. The body graph. The body graph, it managed to keep the picture nice, because often the AI will regenerate and it rearranges the shapes to be more aesthetically pleasing. I'm like, don't rearrange the shapes. But I noticed this morning when I was colouring in my body graph, the numbers are wrong. Now, for something like human design, where the numbers are fixed and it matters, that becomes a problem. The one you've got should be accurate, because I went back in and I got it to fix.
Well, and it's a problem because, like, I wouldn't know the numbers were wrong.
No. And that's my point, is that people that don't know. So I started colouring it in and I went, that's not what that number should be. That's not what that number should be. And some of them are right and some of them are wrong. But unless you know what you're doing and unless you know what you're looking at, you can't tell whether the AI is giving you good information or not. And so, and then the fact check. And all of the AIs say it down the bottom, but very few people follow it. This may hallucinate. This may make stuff up. if you are doing something important, do some fact checking. And there is definitely a place for leveraging AI. It put together the worksheet. I was very pleased with the worksheet. There are still a couple of iterations that I need to change, and there's a couple of elements that I'll adjust. But I think for the moment, it is accurate. But you need to know what you're talking about to know if it's accurate. And so if we're using AI to generate content, you need to know how to listen to other people. Because if you're not reading what other people have said, like my basic need is breathing. What prompt are you using to breathe? I don't know what my body uses, but it's automatic. Like I don't have to think about it. I can actively think to stop it, at least momentarily, and eventually if I managed to stop it long enough, I'd pass out, and then my body would go back to breathing.
Mm-hmm.
We're losing the art of conversation, is my point in all of that. Which is why I like cultivating a community where connected conversation is one of the core values, and actually engaging meaningfully, like read what you're paying, like, and respond with relevance. So I'm very excited about this handout. I'm going to show it off again. It's very pretty.
It's pretty great.
And
we've been looking at it here on our computer.
There's options for reflecting. I'm quite pleased with my profiles. Like I've carefully cultivated the 24. Every now and then I will find a new one and I will trade one in or out. So you may notice that they shift every now and then, because if I come across a new one that is better than what I have, and sometimes better is just, oh, look, this is new and exciting. That's my judgment for it. And then sometimes I'll change it back because it stops being new and exciting and it's no longer better than what I had originally. I'm not proclaiming that they're the answer. They may be a pathway for anyone that finds them valuable. And what I'm hoping the worksheet will do is make them a little bit more manageable. You can start just to pull one profile out. I get there's a lot on the worksheet. It is quite busy. There's a lot of pictures. There's a lot of imagery. ChatGPT and I had many fights about that. It's like, you just need to put just the body graph on there. I'm like, no, I'm not doing one thing. We're putting all 24 profiles on there, because that was the point, was to put all of them on there so that we've got a simple reference, and at the same time recognize that you may fill it out today and go, oh, look, this is what I'm driven by today. This is where I'm at right now. And you may find in a day, a week, a month, a year, that something has shifted and it's a new set of priorities and preferences that come through. That's okay. We're all evolving. We're all expanding. And personally, I believe we're all made up of parts. There will be people that don't believe that and believe that we are all one integrated being, and parts is not accurate. And that's okay for them to believe. I'm not taking that on.
And there will be, you said, so like, because this sheet doesn't like explain what each thing is and all that stuff. So there will be instructions and.
So yeah, in the school community, there is a library, the 3P library profiles. And within that, you will find the Discover acronym, and within each of those letters, you will find 3 profiles. So moving through the decisions, the communication, the values, etc., of that Discover acronym. And it is slowly getting fleshed out. I would like to say I've done half, but I think that's probably a little bit optimistic. And what I will do next is create the list of links so that you can actually access all of these, or almost all of these. I think 2 of them might be paid. And when I say paid, $20 tops in terms of taking the profiles. And so you can get the descriptions from the creator directly, or you will see mine in there. And once a month we run a specific 3P conversation Q&A call that you can come and ask any questions about any of the profiles, any of the patterns, any of the perspectives that you find in the libraries in the community.
Yeah.
So if you want to join the conversation, if you want to explore profiles, if you want a space where you can explore multiple things, that was, I'm just going to share this and then we'll wrap up, but that was one of my drivers for creating the community, was that every community that I have joined, is that accurate? Almost every community, I feel like every community, but we'll say almost so that it's definitely accurate, was focused on one thing. So I could join a community that was focused on human design, but if I wanted to look at my human design and my cognitive functions, that conversation would be shut down. And I could only look at human design with the human design person. If I wanted to look at the attachment styles in the Clutterbug group, it was shut down. And I found it really frustrating because they were so, and I understand in terms of cultivating a community, it becomes quite difficult to manage when people bring multiple things in if you're not familiar with those multiple things and if you're not a sponge that absorbs learning in the same way that I do, because I love learning new things. And so what I wanted to cultivate was a community where conversations about all of the patterns, all of the profiles, all of the perspectives were welcome. There are probably some boundaries that I will place in around that. I haven't found them yet. The people that are coming in have been delightful, and I'm open to that. There will be some lines that I draw, I'm sure. At some point, there are probably perspectives, particularly patterns and profiles I'm open to most. But I wanted a space where we could have conversations about all of the things, because the one thing limits, and I wanted to build relationships and have the conversations with people that I know and like and trust, instead of going to a new person and going, okay, now I've got to get to know this person that knows about human design, or now I've got to get to know this person that knows about clutterbugs, and now I've got to, like, I just want that space to be open to multiple perspectives and multiple perspectives even from within. Because there are days where I love the clutterbug profile and it's great. And there are days where I'm like, why are we doing clutterbugs? Can't I just kill all of the butterflies and make them all turn into crickets? I don't want to know that there is differences here. And that's okay too. So I'm open to multiple perspectives from everybody, but also from ourselves and exploring. So that was the purpose of the community, was to create a space that wasn't focused on one thing and was open to all kinds of different patterns, profiles, and perspectives, so we can find all of our preferences. Thank you for joining me today. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap up? Nope. Cool. I'm going to stop the recording. If you haven't joined the community, you'll find the link below. Come and join us. We'd love to have you.